Slippery slope. A slippery slope argument states that accepting a certain argument will lead to a chain of events that culminate in an undesirable outcome. The validity of an argument is not addressed, only the imagined outcome. Here's Venom Fang X sliding us down his slippery slope of stupidity.
They'd rather believe that they came from monkeys and can act like animals. And that's why you have kids shooting up their schools, and you have kids doing drugs, and the whole society is falling apart because everyone believes that they came from monkeys, which came from earthworms, which came from slime.
So to pretend to students that there is a real controversy here is to mislead them. And the only reason to do that is so that people will be afraid to teach evolution. And that's really what they want.
Correlation implies causation. This fallacy states that because two events are correlated, there exists a cause and effect relationship. The two variables may be caused by a third variable, or may be completely unrelated. An example of this fallacy is, atmospheric carbon dioxide and crime levels have both risen since 1950. Therefore, carbon dioxide causes crime. The following is also an example of an argument from verbosity, where many weak examples are given in quick succession to avoid closer scrutiny. That's Kent Hovind, more fallacies per minute, guaranteed.
Then in 1963, prayer was taken out of our school system. Anybody remember that with Madeleine Murray O'Hair? 1963 is when we saw a great rise in sexually transmitted diseases for kids 10 to 14 years of age. 1963 is when we began to see a rise in premarital sex for every age group. 1963 is when we saw a great rise in unwed birth rates for girls 10 to 14. Now the birth rates are up 100%. Pregnancies are up over 500. The difference is being aborted. Right now, 1/3 of all the kids born in the hospitals are to a couple that's not married.
% of the static or snow on a television tuned between the stations has come directly from the fireball of the Big Bang. Now the fireball of the Big Bang was pretty much like the fireball of a nuclear explosion. But whereas the heat and light of a nuclear explosion can dissipate into the air around, the heat and light from the fireball of the Big Bang had absolutely nowhere to go.
Theory to a scientist means explanation, and these are logical constructs.
Creative math. Probability arguments employed by creationists often employ creative math, where they make it seem as if the odds of something occurring without creation are incredibly remote. This is essentially an elaborate straw man argument. The creative math argument sets up a straw man that assumes evolution somehow works through random chance. The process of natural selection is the opposite of random. But it's real funny to watch them struggle with their big numbers.
The simplest living cells require thousands of specialized proteins in order to function.
A number of scientists have tried to calculate the probability of life arising by chance. Sir Fred Hoyle, a British mathematician, using a supercomputer and the assistance of graduate students, estimated only the origin of the proteins of an amoeba, 2,000 of them, arising by chance. He estimated that the probability that the proteins of an amoeba could arise by chance is 1 chance in 10 to the 40,000th power.
A probability of 1 chance in 10 to the 40,000th power is absurdly small.
Moving the goalposts. When the rules to obtain satisfactory completion of a goal are changed just as they are about to be attained, it is referred to as moving the goalposts. The trick is you can never meet the goal when the goalposts are continuously moved. Kent Hovind's $250,000 challenge is an example of this. You will never win the money because he will change the rules at the last moment to make sure you do not. It's shameful. Give LEG the $250,000.
We offer $250,000 for anybody with any real empirical, testable, scientific evidence for evolution.
The people engaged in this kind of nonsense always set up the rules that you could never win the money.
Has you ever eaten a banana?
Oh, yeah, I eat all kinds of food, yeah. I eat a banana, that's proof we came from rock. That's not proof of evolution.
Just because an idea sounds good doesn't mean you accept it. You have to test it. An essential part of testing, as you learned in 7th grade, is to hold constant certain variables so that you can see the effect of changes and see whether your explanation really is the one that explains the phenomenon you're trying to explain.
Just plain nonsense. Sometimes the failure in logic defies easy explanation. Examples in this category usually require a massive disconnect from reality, and the result is just plain nonsense. And who else could so eloquently exemplify this category?
Dinosaurs were just big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve before the flood came. You know, there really was a fire-breathing dragon. You say, now, Brother Hovind, you don't believe in fire-breathing dragons, do you? Well, yeah, I do.
Also something called philosophical materialism. This is a philosophical view, not a scientific view, that says matter and energy is it, folks. There is no God, there are no ancestor spirits, there's no supernatural whatsoever. Matter, energy, and their interactions is all that the universe is composed of. This is a philosophical view, it's held by a lot of people, but it is not a view that is compelled by science. Okay? I happen to hold that view, but I can't say that science proves that point of view.
Outright lie. Not so much a logical fallacy. The outright lie is simply deception in its purest form. Truth is discarded as superfluous in this type of creationist argument. Many, many choices existed, so we went to the biggest and boldest creationist lie of all time.
That biology is now entering what can only be described as a revolution, because the evidence is so overwhelmingly against the conventional neo-Darwinian view.
Hopefully, now that you're aware of the logical flaws in these arguments, they will not work any longer, and creationists will cease using them.